Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It is going to be another photography related video, and I want to go over what I would do if I were starting all over again from complete scratch. So yeah, let's check it out. So if I was starting over again from complete scratch as a complete new photographer and I had no idea what genre that I wanted to get into, whether landscape, portraits, weddings, events, those kinds of things, what would I do? What would I get if I had no clue what I wanted to do? Well, first thing I would do would get a camera. Now, there is multiple cameras you can get, multiple brands. I have always been a Canon fan. That's what I have. So we'll say I'm starting over with Canon. I would get a mirrorless camera because I would like to future-proof it a little bit, just in case I wanted to make the next step up into something more professional. So if I have no idea what I want to do yet, but I know I want to get into photography, I'm probably going to get an R6 or an R6 Mark II. Great cameras, great autofocus, great sensors. You can't go wrong with the R6 or the Mark II. Seriously. Now, when I started out, there weren't a ton of lenses for the RF line, but now, today, if I were to start over today, there's a lot of different lenses that would be great for newbies. And if I didn't have a high budget, and I know that I want to get into photography, I want to build my skills, and then I do want to become a professional at some point, I would be starting out with the RF 28-70 f2.8 IS STM lens. It's a non-L lens, but it's got L level optics. It's got image stabilization, and it gives you a constant bright f2.8 aperture throughout the entire zoom range. Now, I would also want to have a prime lens to do maybe portraits or something like that, to dabble in that. Well, what do? There, I would get the nifty 50. I would get the 50 f1.8 STM lens. Now, this doesn't have image stabilization, but it does have a nice, bright, wide open aperture of 1.8. And you can get some really nice blurry backgrounds with this lens. On top of that, it's really sharp and really good quality. The best part about it, it's only $200. And you could probably get it cheaper on Amazon or with sales and things like that. So you can't go wrong with this. And even if I were a professional, I would still pick up this $200 nifty 50 lens to have as a backup, for crying out loud. So let's say that I want to get into landscape photography. Okay, there's a few options there. One option would be a lens that I don't have. You could get the 15-35 f2.8 L series lens, which is around $2,000 to $2,500. You could get the 14-35 f4 L series lens, which I think is around $1,500. Or you could go the prime route and you could get the RF 16mm f2.8 lens. Really nice, sharp, ultra wide angle lens. Super nice and just really high quality lens. You can't go wrong with this. And it's only like, I think, between $200 and $400. So that would be a good investment if you're like, you know what, yes, I have these other two lenses, but now I know I want to get into landscapes. With landscapes, you really want to have something wide. This will give you that wide, ultra wide angle. Now, if you just want a regular wide angle lens, and maybe you want to start doing some video, the RF 24mm lens, f1.8. Another really nice prime lens. You can get some nice environmental portraits with this. You can just get a lot of really nice shots. And it does say macro in here. This is not a true macro lens. And some of these other lenses I'm going to show you, they have macro capabilities, but they're not true macro lenses. They don't have the 1-to-1 ratio. You can get really close to a subject with these lenses, but they're not true macro lenses. If you want to get into macro photography, really there's only one lens, and that would be the RF 100 f2.8 L lens. I'm not sure how much that retails for, but that is the one and only true macro lens by Canon. I would get that if I wanted to go into macro photography. So let's say I want to be a family portrait photographer or a portrait photographer. There's a few different lenses you could get. Maybe you want to carry 2 lenses with you at all times. It's probably not the best thing. Always have a backup camera once you go pro. Always have a backup camera and backup lenses. The 35 f1.2 STM lens, great lens, sharp lens. You can get a nice blurry background if you get close enough to your subject. If you come back a little bit further, then you can get a nice environmental portrait. Again, portrait photography, boom, nifty 50. There is the 50 f1.8, I'm sorry, the 51.2 L series lens. That thing is gigantic. It's super heavy, super sharp, and it's, I think, $2,500. I actually used to own it, and I traded it in to get some other lenses instead. And you could also get the 85 f2 STM lens. This is a very sharp lens. This gives you that nice creamy bokeh background, blurry background. And I like to do a lot of portraits with this lens. If I'm going to do an environmental portrait, most of the time I'm going to use the 35. If I want to get a nice tight portrait, I'm using the 85. And then let's say you want to get into weddings. You you do some portraits, you really like that. You do some landscapes, and you really like that too. And it's good to do multiple genres of photography. That is fantastic. Wedding photography is the only one, in my opinion, where you have to have knowledge in multiple genres of photography. You got to be able to do landscape portraits. So when you get to the venue, you get to where the ceremony is going to take place, wherever you're going to be, you want to get those nice establishing shots of wherever that is. If there's some nice scenery around and it's outside, it's an outdoor wedding, you want to get some nice shots of that scene. You want to capture that scene so that your couple remembers it for the rest of their lives. So right there, you need a 24 or you might need a 16. You can go with the 24 to 105 and use it as an all-around lens for weddings. I have used this on a wedding day for a wedding, but you do want to have a portrait lens with you or a prime lens so that you can get nice portraits of the couple with a nice blurred background. So nifty 50 or the 85 mil. Now, I will say right now my current setup for weddings is most of the day I'm going to be carrying around the 28 to 70 f2.8 STM lens. This will be my all-around, all-purpose lens to capture basically any and every moment I can. But then if I need to do portraits and I have the space, I'm using the 85 f2. Now let's say I don't have the space, right? Well, a couple options. I can go to the nifty 50 or the 35, and I can still get a nice blurred background with either of these. Now there is a wild card that I have up my sleeve when it comes to my wedding day lenses, and I literally just got this a couple days ago. I have not done a review on it yet, but I want to include it here because I will be taking this on my next wedding. So this is the Canon RF 16 to 28 f2.8, and from what I've seen so far and what I've used it sparingly so far, but this is a really nice lens. So the way I normally start the day is I start with I don't need super long focal lengths. I'm usually going to be inside and I need to get detailed shots. I need to get shots of people getting ready. I need to get maybe some portraits, not many, and some group shots and things like that. So I don't need something that goes all the way out to 85 millimeters. I don't even need anything that goes out to 70 millimeters. So what I will do at the beginning of my wedding day is I will use the 16 to 28 and I will have that paired with the RF 35 millimeter. So if I want a blurry background and a nice portrait, boom. Everything else, bingo. And then what I'll do is after that part of the day is done and we're going over to the ceremony and then the reception and all that stuff, I'm switching back over to the 28-70 f2.8 and the 85 f2. And then these will be my lenses for the rest of the evening. If I do need to get something a little bit wider for portraits or something like that, again, I'll swap that out with either the 35 or the 50. And I'll have these lenses with me. Now, I don't carry every single one of these lenses with me on a wedding day. And I know this video has kind of gone off on a tangent for what I carry at a wedding day. But that's, if you want to become a wedding photographer, those are the lenses that I would have, some variation of that. Now, let's say you're still not sure. You've got the 28-70 f2.8, you got the nifty 50, but you don't know what you want to do. You know you want to get another lens, and you still want to dabble in all sorts of different genres of photography. Okay. Well, then I would recommend either the 24 or the 16. Go with something wide. 28 millimeters is pretty wide. There's not a huge difference between 24 and 28 millimeters. The biggest difference between that, outside of the focal range, like I said, is not a big difference, but the aperture. You go from 2.8 to 1.8, and that's a pretty big difference. That's a full stop of light. But I would probably be more geared to go towards the 16 millimeter. That's just what I would do. If you know that you want to do more portraits and you're leaning more towards that, then you're on the 85. So you still have the 50, and you got the 85, and you got the 28-70. So that you're covered between 16 millimeter, or you're covered between 28 millimeters all the way up to 85 millimeters. Let's say you want to do sports, okay? If you want to do sports, depending on if you're indoors or outdoors, if you're going to be indoors, that's tough, and you might have to go expensive. I mean, you can do it with the 24-105 f4, and you can do it with the 70-200 f4. You can definitely do it with the 70-200 f2.8, which is like a $2,500 lens. Or if you really want to go all out and you're indoors, which most of the time you do have plenty of room, but you're not going to be super far away, so you don't need a super telephoto lens. There is the RF 24-105 f2.8 lens. That is a $3,000 lens. It's very large, very heavy, but it would be the only lens that you need if you're going to be an indoor sports photographer. Literally, you would be set. You could do video and photo with that, and you'd be good. If you want to have a backup, have the f4 as your backup. You know what I mean? And then you're good to go. If you don't have the money for the f2.8 24-105, this will still get you really great results. And this does fantastic indoors, especially when you pair it with an R6 or R6 Mark II, which has a little bit less megapixels than the R5. The R5 has 45 megapixels. The R6 has 20, and the R6 Mark II has 24. So it's almost half the megapixels, but the lower the megapixels, the better it does in low light. And I think 20-24 is really that sweet spot to where you get super sharp, nice images and really clean, crisp video. But if you start to go down to like 12 megapixels and things like that, the images are going to start to kind of fall apart. You're going to need external light sources, and that's not going to be easy when you're inside a gym and things like that. Now, if you're an outdoor photographer and you have plenty of space, I mean plenty of space, you want to be able to zoom in real tight to a player, you want to be able to capture the whole field. Honestly, I would recommend the Canon RF 200-800. That will give you fantastic results. That'll give you plenty of room to work with outside. You could also go with the 100-400, the 100-500. Just depends on what your budget is. The 100-500 is more expensive. The 100-400 is more budget friendly. Those are what I would use. If you want to get into astrophotography, which I've been trying to do that, I still suck at it. I would go with either the 24 or the 16. They give you nice bright apertures. You can shoot it wide open. And I think you're going to get some really, really great results of a nighttime sky and get some great astrophotography. So if I was starting out, that's what I would do. When I first started out, I had one lens. Then after that, I knew I wanted to get into weddings and events. I had to learn portrait photography, and I had to learn studio photography. I had to learn all sorts of different genres of photography before I started doing wedding photography. And again, let me bring this up for probably a fifth time. If you want to be a studio photographer, 24-105 f4, sharp lens, and it will give you the results that you want. And you're always going to be in control of the light. But I knew I wanted to be a wedding photographer. And throughout my career, I have accumulated all of these different lenses. And at some point, I actually do use them all. It's amazing. I have the 24-105 just for general use. If I want to go take pictures of my kids playing sports outside, playing sports inside, I'm going to take the 24-105 f4. Like I said, on wedding days, these 4 lenses, actually 5 because I have the 50 as a backup, but these 5 lenses right here are going to be in my bag every single wedding day, right here, along with 2 R6 Mark II cameras. That's my wedding gear. I do plan on getting a couple of new flashes, and I can cover flashes in another video. But I know you guys are thinking, wow, he's had some more photography videos. And I'm going to include more photography videos because I don't just review tech. I trying to review anything and everything. And when I get new lenses and I have lenses, I want to review them because I've used some of these extensively. I know how well they work. And even though they're not L-series lenses, I get great results. I get nice, sharp images. And if you're on a budget and you're just starting out, you really cannot go wrong with any of these lenses. You really can't. Once you learn what you want to do, then get a nice lens, budget-friendly lens that's going to fit with what you want to do. And then if you wind up start making a ton of money and you really want to get the sharpest lens possible when you zoom into 400, it's still going to be tack sharp, get the L-series lens. But if you want to save yourself money, even once you turn pro and you're making a ton of money off of your images or videos, I would still get these budget-friendly lenses because you cannot go wrong with them. So hopefully you like this video. If you're just starting out in photography, let me know, and I would be more than happy to point you in the right direction. There will be affiliate links in the descriptions below. I will try to give a brief description on every lens and the camera that I talked about today. The affiliate links, they don't cost you any additional money, but they do help support the channel. So if you do use them, it's greatly appreciated. Like, subscribe, and smash that bell so you know when I put out new videos, and I'll catch you with the next one. Bye.